Hello, this is Carmen Davenport, founder of Black Dollar Indie, and you have tuned in to Get the Bag, Business, Assets, and Gains, where we talk to local businesses about their journeys, their challenges, and successes. Today, we have here with us Nicole Fields, President and CEO of Unity Group, which is an organization that helps families with one of the hardest things the hardest part of life, actually, and that's saying goodbye to someone we love. Did I get that? Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so today I think is going to be interesting, and I wish I'd put my tissue here because death is just one of those subjects that I struggle with as well. So before we get started, I always like to talk about the person behind the product or service.
Sure.
So tell us who Nicole is.
Sure. So my name is Nicole Fields. I'm president and CEO of Unity Group. I'm a lifelong resident of Indianapolis. I was born and raised on the east side of Indianapolis. I graduated from Lawrence Central. Undergraduate degree, I started at Ball State, finished at IU, master's degree in management, and started out my career trajectory in healthcare as a healthcare executive. And I did that for 34 years, right around 2008. I knew that God had been dealing with me, and I knew that would not be my career path, would not end or culminate in healthcare. But I didn't understand, I wasn't clear about what I would be doing. So around 2008, I had an opportunity through a long story with my mother's retirement, and then she picked up full part-time employment in a funeral home. And just as parents would periodically talk through the week, she would talk about her experiences behind the scenes, because at this point I'd only been a consumer and attended funerals, but didn't really understand what all went on behind the scene. At some point in one of those conversations, I told her I wanted to meet the owner of the establishment that she was working with. I had given her a deadline. I think I had given her about 2 weeks to be able to set this meeting up, because I wanted to learn more about the intricacies of death care. And my husband and myself and Mr. Nathan Blewett, we went and had breakfast at Country Kitchen. And he talked about all the reasons why we shouldn't go into this business, and just how consuming it is of your time. But as he's talking, I am overlaying my experience and my responsibility in healthcare, and I'm just saying in my head, check. I'm already doing these things. So I walked away from that saying, this is something that I want to explore further. This may be a path that I want to pursue. At the time, I was working for Health and Hospital, and I had a career that I was very proud of, and it took care of me and my family. It took care of us well, and we could have continued that career path, and it would have been okay, but it didn't help many beyond just our household. As life would have it, my position was eliminated. So what started out as me going to school part-time, then my position was eliminated through a rift. My husband and I talked, we looked at our assets. I called Mr. Blewett and said, I have some time on my hands. I'd really like to come and shadow. And I did. And I liked it. I liked taking care of people in that finality. It was really much more of a transfer from what I had already been doing all these years. But I was fearful to make the leap, because I liked the familiarity of what I already had, and how it provided for our family. And so I worked concurrently from 2008 until 2024. I would work part-time in death care and continue to serve families full-time in healthcare. Then COVID hit. And as God dealt with many people, he dealt with me, and he was just like, daughter, I've given you something to do. And I'm not going to take it off your to-do list. Let's start to work on a serious exit exit strategy, which I did, and made the decision to retire full-time from healthcare in 2024. In the fall of 2024, decided to retire from healthcare and dedicate the remainder of my career to serving people full-time in the death care industry. But what he afforded me in his graciousness to do over that 17 or so years was to hone my skills, get my license, get my insurance license, become a notary. So I then didn't enter the business wet behind the ears.
Right.
As part of that, I just thought, okay, I've done everything on this funeral home side, so I'm going to open up a funeral home and hang my shingle like everybody else and serve families who want to receive our services. Around April of last year, a gentleman approached me, and I was doing a service. We were at the cemetery, and we were standing under a tree, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you. You know, I want to take you out to lunch next week." And he says, "Ann and I, we're getting up in age. I'll be 78 years old this year. She'll be 73. And we want you to purchase the cemetery."
What?
Yeah. That's what I looked at him like, what?
Cemetery.
The cemetery. Like, Lord, I don't know nothing about a cemetery other than helping my families who want ground burial. He's a 6th-generation cemetery, and I'm immediately going, all the reasons why not to. So I did take him up on his offer to have lunch with him, and I was like, Lord, this don't make sense. I said, if I sit down with 10 people, 7 of them choose to be cremated, whether it's personal choice or finances or other reasons that may make that necessary. Why would I want to own a cemetery? And I prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and I prayed about it, because it doesn't make sense to me.
That's right.
And where are the resources going to come from? Let's just get down to the brass tacks. And during this time, I had assumed responsibility. My colleague had been murdered, James Dixon, and I had assumed responsibility at the request of his family to run his firm while they dealt with legal matters pertaining to his death. And as part of that, I had accepted responsibility as vice president of the Marion County Funeral Directors Association. I was just somebody who showed up because I was in healthcare. I was used to going and getting continuing education, so that's just what I did. And as part of that responsibility, I arranged for continuing education. And I had a continuing education class at Stewart Mortuary. And I'm still seeking God, saying, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how this fits. And I had set up a continuing education with a gentleman, Joe Wilson, who did water cremation. Had never heard of it, didn't understand the concept.
Me either. What is that?
Water cremation
What is that?
is exactly what it says. It's cremation by water using chemical pressure and agitation. It's a kinder, gentler form of cremation.
So instead of
flame, yes,
water.
Yeah.
Which
is how we start. We come out of the womb and we're covered in water. So in that moment, as he's presenting to our group about the concept, because it's something that has been around. It's been around since the 1800s, and it actually originates in the agricultural industry. But it was introduced in our specific industry around 2010, 2011. But it's legal currently in 28, 29 states, but not active in the state of Indiana. So as he's presenting about this technology, I'm sitting in my chair, nobody's around me, and the light bulb went off. You're going to build the ecosystem. You're going to do death care differently. You're going to provide the services from the very beginning, helping engage families and individuals with conversations around death as part of the life cycle. And you're going to follow families all the way through to the end as they're trying to reestablish and take care of business. your relationships with your families won't end at the cemetery or won't end with the exchange of the death certificates. You're going to be that intersection between the healthcare provider and that spiritual provider that helps to steady people, that helps to advocate for people, that helps to connect them with resources that they don't know. Because I found in the 17 years I've talked to people, people don't know what they don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they need a trusted resource that they can come to. And they don't always want to have to retell all of their family business and relive all of their trauma in order to get the help that they need. And we want to be someone who connects people with resources that they need. And we really want to build relationships with our family, and we want to be an integral part of the communities that we serve. We don't want it to become transactional. And I think death deserves more than that.
I absolutely love that, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, like, what are some of the things you do for families after the funeral, right? Because a lot of people, and you hear it a lot in the sermons a lot, that after this is over, that person is going to sit, they're going to be alone, and then people stop checking on them and different things like that. So are there services after the funeral? Like, what kind of services do you offer after the funeral?
Yeah, so we have some of the standard things in mind in terms of grief support groups, but we also want to be able to connect people with resources. If your loved one died as a result of a violent crime, we want to connect them with the Victim Assistance Fund. If you are in a situation where maybe there are assets that need to be taken care of, we want to develop connections with individuals, trusted allies. We may not have all of the answers, but if you need a probate attorney, we want to be able to connect you with a probate attorney so that your assets are protected. If you need the assistance of an accountant, we want to be able to connect you with an accountant. If you need to learn, if it was just you and your husband and now you can't figure out how to cook just for one person because sometimes your health is neglected, we want to be able to offer classes where dietitians and people come in to help you learn how to make those adjustments. Anything we can do to help to stabilize a person when they've experienced a significant life change. I couldn't figure out, I would occasionally, as a funeral director, I would get calls from families that I serve, usually female widows, and they would call and my sink is clogged up, my roof is leaking. It would usually be something about the house, and I'm like, not sure why they're calling me, because I don't do that. And what it would eventually circle back around to is a reopening of that grief cycle, because it ended with my son took care of this, my husband took care of this, whomever that significant person in their life. So they're really calling me about the grief. It's not really about the sink or the roof. But wouldn't it be awesome to be able to say to somebody, hey, I have a short list of people that we've vetted, because as a female, would you want to just open up the yellow pages or randomly go online? You don't know who to trust. You don't know if they're going to take advantage of you financially. You don't know if they're going to come back and set you up to rob you or rape you.
That's true. Yeah.
So if I could just offer people a few resources, here's some plumbers, here's some electricians, here's a handyman if you need a handyman. Here's a short list of people that you can reach out to and make a decision or be able to get services.
Talk about innovative. So I'm gonna step back for a second.
Okay.
Did you purchase the cemetery? That's my first question.
Yes, ma'am. We did purchase. When that light went off about the crematory, and it just immediately fell into place, like the vision. It just made perfect sense to me, because then I can serve the family, whether they chose cremation or whether they chose ground burial. We would be in a position to serve families in a holistic manner. So we actually closed on that sale December 16th of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And then are you thinking about, or are you offering the water cremation now? Are you?
So we were approved for zoning for water cremation last Thursday.
Oh, wow.
So we're excited. We trusted God, went out on the limb and ordered our equipment earlier this year. It was actually delivered yesterday. And construction, the build out of our space will start next week. So probably by January 1, it'll be operational. However, it will first be operational for pets because we're going to do pets and humans in separate units. And what I learned is that people are more fond of their pets than sometimes they are of their humans.
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And right now in the state of Indiana, it is legal for pets. It is not currently an approved means of disposition for humans. Okay. It was on the legislative agenda for this year. It made it out of the House overwhelmingly. It was approved from the House, but then it stalled out in the Senate because they were arguing over property taxes. But I have talked with the representative who authored the legislation, and it is his intent to present it again next year. So as soon as it's approved as a means of disposition, it is ultimately our intent to also offer it for humans.
I actually think it's a really great idea, especially like for the older generation. I think about the older generation that pass along, and they tell you, "Don't burn me up." That's my mother. That's my grandmother. My grandmother just turned 92, and she's like, "Don't burn me up. Don't burn me up." So I think for the families that are left that have to make those decisions, and cremation is a more affordable option, but you also want to make sure that you're honoring, right, what they want. I think talking about this new method, and like you said, this is where we came from, really kind of shifts the game a lot.
For a lot of communities.
Right? And so I love that idea.
Yeah, so we are excited. We are excited about
water cremation.
Water cremation.
My first time hearing about it, but I'm actually excited about it because I want to be cremated. But now I want to be water cremated.
See? And that's what we believe will happen is the statistics from states where it's legal.
Yeah.
If you sit down and you offer both, that 85 to 90% of the time people will choose water cremation over being incinerated at 14 to 1800 degrees. And again, I was afforded those years that I thought were just random to spend time with families and see how families struggled making the decision, especially if it wasn't a conscious choice of their loved one to be cremated and it was driven by economics, how they struggle with, as you just stated, cremating a parent, a spouse, a child because they hadn't prepared financially for it, which is why we want to introduce those conversations well in advance of death happening. What's going on? How do we prepare? Who's struggling to pay insurance premiums? If we can start to it doesn't have to be conversation around the kitchen table every Sunday, but if people know it's an outlet, as your family member, I'd much rather figure out how to pay your $50 or $60 insurance premium than to recall that you told me 10 years ago you had a policy you had already been paying on for 10 years that you let lapse because you had to choose between maintaining insurance or getting your prescription meds. So we want to be able to shine a light on that for families. Or if there's a family member who's really thinking they want to be cremated and that's inconsistent with what their family has done, that they're able to have that conversation and it's not just had with just one person. Other key family members are there and they can hear it from the person's mouth when they're well, not when they're sick. And because we see a lot of division, especially in our community when death occurs. And fighting over assets. And if death is violent, people are trying to figure out how to retaliate. And none of those things are going to make us feel better. We need to feel the feelings in a safe, healthy way, and then move forward to try and be productive citizens in our community. And I just see that we've lost that in general, but specifically in our community.
Yeah, I love that.
We've lost our way.
Tell the people out there where you are, where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, and stay connected. So when these new services come about,
Yes.
we know where to get them.
Yes. So we are still on the east side of Indianapolis. We proudly own and operate Sutherland Park Cemetery, located at 4140 Millersville Road. And our crematory will be located not far away on Meadows Drive near the BMV. Our Facebook is Sutherland Park Cemetery, and our website is sutherlandparkcemetery.net.
Okay. And I always have to ask this question at the end.
Yes.
What is in your bag? What is your biggest gain, your biggest asset or gain to date?
My faith. This has definitely been a faith journey for me, and it has stretched me beyond, what I thought I was capable of doing, but God has shown himself to be faithful, and at every point where I've needed resources, I've needed connection, he hasn't failed me, and I know this is his plan. I'm just the hands and feet. I'm the boots on the ground.
I heard that. And you heard it too. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us. It is obvious that the Unity Group is not about funerals. It's not just about the funeral. It's about the aftercare.
Yes.
Right? It's about the before, the now, and the aftercare. So thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. Yes. And thank you for tuning in. This is Carmen Davenport from Black Dollar Indie. Join us next time for Get the Bag.